Today's lesson is called Off the Map. Can you live without your phone? Hello everyone, my name is Jeff.
I'm Roger. Today, as we come toward the end of the month of December, we're going to talk about what you do if you get lost in the wilderness. And, of course, we're also asking this question, can you live without your phone? Which is kind of another topic, but basically we're talking about what you can do in the wilderness if you just don't have that GPS connection.
There you go. So, can you live without your phone? Sometimes I ask myself this question. I use my phone quite often. I rely on it pretty much every minute of every day. So, could I actually live without that phone? You know what? I live in a big city, though, so I'm never really put to the test, okay? I always have my phone handy, okay? Let's say it runs out of battery power. I can just plug it in, no problem. But let's say you're out in the wilderness. You're in the middle of a forest or something like that. And then your phone runs out of juice. So what do you do then? Would you know how to survive? Could you actually live without your phone by your side in a situation like that? Ooh, that's what we'll be talking about over the course of the next couple of days. Anyways, folks, with that, it's time for us to stop chatting and start reading. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss the first part of our lesson called Off the Map. Can you live without your phone?
Off the map. Can you live without your phone? We often hear people say they can't survive without their smartphones, and nowhere is that more true than in the wilderness. Most of us rely on the GPS in our phones to get directions and navigate. But what do you do when your phone runs out of battery?
大家好，第一部分我们看到名词 GPS。这个字是 Global Positioning System 字首字母缩写，指全球定位系统。例如 People in the modern days rely on the GPS much more than a paper map. 现代人比起纸本地图更加依赖 GPS 定位系统。再来我们看到片语 run out 表示用完耗尽。例如 The coffee ran out after only an hour, so some people just drank hot water. 才过了1个小时，咖啡就没了，所以有些人只能喝热开水。另外 run out 还有以下2种用法。第一 something run out of 加名词表示用完耗尽点点点，像是 The supermarket had run out of beef, so I bought pork instead. 超市里的牛肉卖完了，所以我买了猪肉。第二 somebody run out of something 表示某人用完耗尽某事物。我们可以说 Maxine found that she had run out of shampoo when she was in the shower. Maxine 淋浴时发现她已经把洗发精用完了。
Okay, everybody, so today's article is entitled Off the Map, Can You Live Without Your Phone? Can you survive if you don't have your smartphone, or if your smartphone is out of battery power, or if it's simply is not getting connected to the internet. So off the map, that means you're in a place where the map doesn't indicate where you are. So you're kind of lost in the wilderness and you need to find your way home.
Yeah, whenever you have a phone these days, a smartphone with GPS or Google Maps or something like that, you're kind of always on the map. You can launch that app and find where you are on a map on your phone there. Anywhere you are on planet Earth, for the most part, you can find yourself because you're on the map. Anyways, let's get started. The first sentence of today's lesson says, we often hear people say they can't survive without their smartphones, and nowhere is that more true than in the wilderness. So yeah, every once in a while, I decide, okay, I'm going to go an entire day without using my smartphone. Okay, I put that smartphone aside, and I prove to myself, yes, I can do it. I can live without my phone. But sometimes, like I said during the introduction, you're going to be really put to the test, okay? Let's say you're out in the wilderness there. Could you survive without your phone? Would you know what to do? After all, you can't use your phone out there. Maybe the battery has run out. Maybe you've dropped it into a river. Maybe it's broken. One way or another, your phone isn't there to put you on the map so you know what to do. So would you know what to do if you were stranded out there in the wilderness?
In the wilderness, right. That's a key vocabulary term for today. It's just an area that is in a wild area. It's a wild area, basically. It could be in the mountains. It could be in the forest. And there might be lots of wild animals out there. So yes, indeed, you might get lost in the wilderness. And even though Taiwan is a small place, it still is possible to get lost in the wilderness. We hear news stories all the time of people getting lost and needing to be rescued. So yeah, what are you going to do if you get lost in the wilderness? If you can't use your smartphone, then just what the heck are you going to do?
When we are in the city, okay, we are not in the wilderness, okay? We're in the middle of a big civilization. We've got roads and running water and stuff like that. And on top of all of that, we also have the great convenience of having smartphones. Yeah, most of us rely on the GPS in our phones to get directions and navigate. And this is certainly true for me, okay? Whenever I need to find some place, all I do is plug an address into Google Maps, and I instantly know how to get there. I've got directions on how to walk there, how to take a bike, how to take a bus, how to take the MRT, so on and so forth. I don't have to do anything. Google Maps does it all.
GPS, Global Positioning System, of course, you all know what that is. And to navigate means to simply find your way around to get from point A to point B. You need to plan your route, and then you need to figure out how you're going to use your ship or your car or whatever to get there. And of course, you navigate by using perhaps instruments or by looking at the stars or whatever, which we're actually going to get to later on in our lesson. So here's our question. But what do you do when your phone runs out of battery? Of course, the battery is the device in your phone that helps it work. It provides the power, the battery. But in this particular case, it's kind of interesting. What happens when you run out of battery? Or you could say when you run out of power, when you run out of battery power.
Exactly. When you run out of something, okay, you had a supply of that thing, and now you don't have any more of that thing anymore. Like when your battery in your smartphone runs out of power, okay, it might say, oh, you've got 0% battery left, okay? When you've reached that 0% mark, yes, your battery has run out of energy, okay? Now, you can also run low on something. Let's say you have a supply of something, okay? And then you start running low on that thing. You might not have much of that left. That's what it means to run low on something. Anyways, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
During the day, the sun should be your primary indicator of direction. Since it rises in the east and sets in the west, so long as you know if it's morning or afternoon, you should be able to figure out which way is which. If it's noon, the sun will be at its highest point of the day, and it will be slightly south if you are in the northern hemisphere because of the Earth's tilt.
第二部分，我们看到单字 indicator， 这个字是名词，意思是指标、指示物。例如 Small animals like frogs are an indicator of the overall health of an ecosystem. 青蛙等小动物可作为整体生态系统健康程度的指标。另外补充这个字的动词 indicate, I-N-D-I-C-A-T-E, indicate, 意思是指示、指向。我们可以说 Brad indicated the chair to his left, so I sat there. Brad 指着他左边的椅子，所以我就坐在那里了。接着看到一个副词 slightly， 指稍微、略微。例如 The fake painting was only slightly different from the original. 那幅假画只与原作略微不同。再来我们看到一个单字 hemisphere， 这个字是名词，指地球、球体的半球，知识的范围、领域。举例来说 The equator divides the earth into northern and southern hemispheres. 赤道将地球分为北半球和南半球。再举一个例子 George's profession is in the hemisphere of science and technology. George 的专业是在科技领域。另外，这个字也可以指大脑半球。例如 The doctor said that Grandpa's right hemisphere of the brain is injured. 医生说爷爷的大脑右半球有受伤。接下来看一个名词 tilt， 指倾斜、倾斜度。例如 Can I adjust the seat? The tilt isn't good for me. 我可以调整椅子吗？斜度不太适合我。另外，这个字除了可以当名词，也可以当动词，指使倾斜。我们可以说 I tilted the glass to pour water on my plant. 我将杯子倾斜，好帮我的植物浇水。
Okay, let's move on to the second part of our lesson for today. So it begins by saying during the day, the sun should be your primary indicator of direction. That is, if it's a sunny day. So if you're lost in the wilderness and you want to figure out where you are, which way is north, which way is south, etc., well, look up in the sky and try to figure out where the sun is. That's your primary indicator of direction. Now, here we've got the word indicator. It's a noun, and the verb form is to indicate, which means to show or to let us know where something is, to indicate. Yes, if you have a question, gee, where's the vacuum cleaner? Well, I indicated to the corner. That's where the vacuum cleaner is. It's in that direction. So indicator here is something that lets you know something. It provides that information.
There you go. That's what an indicator is. And it says here the sun should be your primary indicator of direction. It should tell you which way to go, or it should tell you how you can go. One note, though, if the sun is high up in the sky around noontime, it's not going to be much help, okay? So you're going to want to look at the sun when it's either morning or in the afternoon. And yeah, we learn more about that next. The next sentence says, since it rises in the east and sets in the west, so long as you know if it's morning or afternoon, like I said before there, you should be able to figure out which way is which. Okay, so there you go. The sun, it rises in the east and sets in the west. So if it's the morning and you move towards the sun, well, that must be east. And if it's in the afternoon and you move towards the sun, that must be the west. And yes, in the morning, if you move away from the sun, that'll be west. And in the afternoon, if you move away from the sun, that will be east.
Right, and here we've got the phrase, so long as. You could also say if, or as long as. Those all mean the same thing.
There you go. There's more. If it's noon, the sun will be at its highest point of the day, and it will be slightly south if you are in the northern hemisphere because of the Earth's tilt. So there you go. There's some more helpful information, even if it does happen to be noontime.
Exactly. So here, of course, we're talking about the hemisphere. The Earth is divided into halves. There's the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Some people also say there's an eastern hemisphere and a western hemisphere, but more often we talk about the northern hemisphere, which is where Asia is and North America. Whereas if we talk about the southern hemisphere, the southern part of Africa is in the southern hemisphere, Australia is in the southern hemisphere, and most of South America is in the southern hemisphere as well. Hema means half, sphere means ball, so half ball, hemisphere. And, of course, as you know, the Earth tilts. It's not straight up and down going around the sun. It tilts, and that's why we have different seasons.
Yeah, there you go. It's not a perfectly straight line from the North Pole to the South Pole. Yeah, there is kind of a tilt, some slope to that line, okay? That's what tilt is all about in this particular situation. And one note here, the word tilt is being used as a noun in this case, okay? Something has a tilt. You can also use this word as a verb, though. If something tilts, let's say, okay, it is now no longer at a straight line, okay? Maybe before, from up to down, there was a straight line there, but now there's some slope there. It has tilted. That's the idea in this situation. All right, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a short break, but don't go away. We'll wrap things up for part one of our lesson right after this.
At night, however, you must use the stars in the sky to point the way. Two of the most prominent constellations north of the equator are the Big and Little Dippers, which make it easy to find Polaris, the North Star. The North Star is at the end of the Little Dipper's handle, and an imaginary line drawn from the two stars on the outside edge of the Big Dipper's cup will lead directly to it.
最后第三部分我们看到一个单字 imaginary， 这个字是形容词，指想象中的、虚构的。举例来说 When Jack got older, he realized that the monsters hiding under his bed were imaginary. 当 Jack 长大后，他了解到躲在他床下的怪物都是虚构的。
Now, if you're lost in the wilderness and it's a cloudy day and you can't see the sun, well, maybe you have to wait until night to see the stars, but hopefully by then the sky will have cleared. But let's say it's a clear night and you can see the stars. So at night, however, you must use the stars in the sky to point the way. So yes, if you know your constellations and know which stars are which, you should be able to figure out which way is north and which way is south.
There you go. So at night, you must use the stars in the sky to point the way. After all, the sun is set, so what are you going to use as your guide? You can't use the sun anymore, so you use the stars. Now, two of the most prominent constellations north of the equator are the Big and Little Dippers, which make it easy to find Polaris, the North Star. By the way, if something is prominent, it stands out. It's important, okay? So here, when we're talking about constellations in the northern hemisphere, I should say, there are two that are really important and stand out because they help you to find the North Star. Well, these are these prominent constellations.
So yes, they're very noticeable, and most people can identify or they can indicate the Big Dipper and maybe the Little Dipper. That's a little harder to see, but the Big Dipper, of course, is really clear unless you live in a city like Taipei where you've got lots of light pollution and it will be hard to see it. But these are prominent constellations, noticeable, obvious constellations. And of course, if you can see those two constellations, you should be able to find the North Star, which is also called Polaris.
And by the way, if you find the North Star, you've also found north, okay? You know exactly in which direction you're heading when you're following the North Star. Polaris, you're heading north. There you go. So during the day, you can figure out where east and west is based on the position of the sun. Then at night, find the North Star and you will be on your way. Now, more on finding the North Star. The North Star is at the end of the Little Dipper's handle, and an imaginary line drawn from the two stars on the outside edge of the Big Dipper's cup will lead directly to it. There you have it.
Right, so if you look at the Big Dipper, of course, you see the pan section there, and then go all the way to the side there, and then draw an imaginary line from those two stars, and it should lead you to Polaris. It doesn't go directly to Polaris, but in the general neighborhood, you should be able to find it. And as Jeff said, you'll be able to figure out which way is north, and hopefully after you know that, you'll know which way to go if you want to go home. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Let's hear now from our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始提到 We often hear people say they can't survive without their smartphones, and nowhere is that more true than in the wilderness. 我们常听人说他们没有智慧型手机就活不下去，而没有什么地方比荒野更贴切的了。好，这个句子的后半句它是用否定副词 nowhere 当句首的倒装句。好，那我们来看这个用法。当否定副词或是否定副词片语摆在句首的时候呢，我们必须把助动词或 be 动词移到主词前面来进行倒装，把它形成否定副词或是否定副词片语加助动词加主词加动词，或者是否定副词或否定副词片语 加 be 动词加主词这样的句型。好，那常常会摆在句首的否定副词或是否定副词片语有 nowhere 表示任何地方都不怎么样， little 就是少到几乎没有， seldom 或是 rarely 表示很少， hardly, barely, scarcely 这些表示几乎不， never 从不， by no means 绝不， not for a moment 从未有一刻不曾， no longer 不再，in no circumstances 或是 under no circumstances 就是表示无论任何情况也不怎么样等等。好，这些他们摆在句首的时候，记得要把 be 动词或是助动词移到主词前面，形成倒装。举例来说，我们原本的直述句例句可能是 I have never doubted your love， 我不曾怀疑过你的爱。好，那如果把 never 移到句首，这时候就要把助动词 have 移到主词 I 的前方，形成倒装，变成 Never have I doubted your love。 好，我们再看一个例句，原本直述句的例句是She was hardly able to contain her excitement when she won free concert tickets. 当她赢得免费演唱会门票的时候，她几乎都控制不了自己的兴奋了。好，那如果要把 hardly 移到句首，本来是 She was hardly able to 怎么样？如果要把 hardly 移到句首，这个时候 be 动词 was 就要移到主词she 的前面来形成倒装，变成 Hardly was she able to contain her excitement when she won free concert tickets。 好，那特别注意的是，要是你原本直述句当中没有助动词的话，那就必须配合主词人称和动词时态自己加入适当的助动词哦。例如 We rarely see this type of plant in this area。 我们很少在这一区看到这一种植物。好，那我们看到句子里面是没有助动词的，如果想要把 rarely 移到句首，那这时候为了配合主词 we 还有配合现在式的时态，我们就要加入助动词 do， 然后变成 Rarely do we see this type of plant in this area。 好，那回头来看课文的句子哦，后半句原本它可以写作 And that is nowhere more true than in the wilderness。它是以 nowhere 来搭配比较级来表达最高级的语义，字面上的意思是说没有别的地方比荒野更贴切了，那也就是说荒野是最贴切的地方了。那课文就是把 nowhere 移到句首，然后把 be 动词 is 移到主词 that 的前面，形成倒装，变成 And nowhere is that more true than in the wilderness。 好，以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Wilderness. Pam learned how to start a fire and build a simple shelter during her wilderness survival course. Navigate. Scientists believe that many animals navigate by sensing the Earth's magnetic field. Battery. Wireless headphones can have a battery life of anywhere from 2 to 40 hours. Slightly. It's only slightly colder than yesterday, so you probably won't need a coat. Tilt. The Tower of Pisa in Italy is famous mainly because of its tilt. Prominent. Jack hung the poster in a prominent position on the wall, so more people would notice it. Imaginary. It's not uncommon for children to have imaginary friends when they're very young.
Okay, everyone. With that, today's article is now complete. But, as always, we sure hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us. Anyways, I'm Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.